Blessings everybody from the UK. I'm still staying in Ajahn Karuniko's old kuti at Chithurst Buddhist Monastery, the first monastery in the Ajahn Chah lineage in the UK, where Luang Por himself visited at the very beginning. My father's condition continues to slowly deteriorate, but he's still with us. Every day I go across and he spends most of the time sleeping, but he can still respond to some conversation. So yesterday myself and my sister, we were with him and just talked a lot about his past from our perspective, talked about the sacrifices and kindness he'd shown us as kids growing up, and even later on in our adult life. Talked about many of the sacrifices and kindness he showed to other people as well through his life, and that was his nature. So he has a very peaceful, kind mind, many good memories. We hope that stimulate wholesome mental states arising for him. We talked about how his character was always one willing to help other people, visit the sick, visit the elderly, take people on errands, do favors for people, run community magazines, do teaching, free teaching for people in different situations. He was driving a car till he was 91 and he would still take elderly friends out to help them with shopping or other activities and visit them when they're sick. And he was still teaching until he was 91 in the University of the Third Age. Some of his students were even older than him, and that was his character. He was one who was always willing to give to others. So we talked to him yesterday. He was asleep, or his eyes were closed most of the time, but some of the stories seemed to resonate with him, and he did wake up and respond, even smiled at one point, because there's quite a few funny stories from his life. We were talking about his bravery, because he was a scientist. He was always interested to experiment, find out new things. And there's one famous abbey in the north of England, Fountains Abbey, which back in the 1940s had a reputation for being haunted. It was a place no one wanted to go. So his friends made a wager with him and said, if you can stay in a coffin in the grounds of Fountains Abbey for a whole night, we'll give you £5, which is a lot of money in those days. And he completed the wager, and they asked him, so what happened? He just said, I just went to sleep and had a good night's sleep, and he won £5. He was somebody who was brave in that sense. He had many ghost stories and liked to tell us when we were kids to keep us scared, and both funny but scary. So we talked about that. We talked about some of his other exploits when he was in the war and then traveling after the war. He traveled around Europe. One occasion he was in Switzerland, and they have a reputation for their cheeses, but there's one that the world probably doesn't know. In one place in Switzerland they make cheese which is allowed to go kind of rot, and actually it gets maggots in it. And he was staying in a hotel with his friend, and this was on the menu, so they ordered it. And he said they were eating it and it tasted quite nice, but there were actually maggots in the cheese. And an American couple sitting on a nearby table came over and had a look, thinking it was nice Swiss cheese, and asking if they could try. And there was a maggot crawling out of the cheese at that moment. And my father just put it on the spoon with the cheese and ate it. At which time the American couple were a bit disgusted and ran off screaming. Anyway, that got a reaction from him, as you might expect, and many other stories of his kindness and funny exploits through his life. So we are still spreading metta and chanting for him, and we very much appreciate all the people around the world, Sangha and laity in many, many monasteries all over the world, in the Ajahn Chah branch monasteries and outside, who have been chanting for him, spreading metta. We very much appreciate that. And we hope that you're all well, and that the blessings of the Triple Gem guide you and protect you. And I'll talk to you again next time.